What is the reason for the large pathways in the garden?
Large pathways? I don't see large pathways. Right now there's nothing in the garden, but when
Right.
my garden's there, the plants are pretty tight.
I think they're saying when you take a row out and then it creates a pathway before you plant something else in there.
Yeah, well, I have to
I
wait
think
to
that's
plant,
what they're
but
saying.
it's very temporary. This is not a standing,
Right.
situation.
You grow garlic, don't you?
Oh yeah, lots
Yeah.
Garlic is like a powerful food, man. It's so many, but it's an antibiotic, it's an antihistamine, it's anti-inflammatory. It's just like there's nothing it won't deal with.
Yeah.
It's just insecticide. People are amazed in the summertime. They're all swatting these mosquitoes off, and they don't bother me. I eat a lot of garlic.
Yep.
I'm serious.
No, I know.
It's in your blood, man. You're not gonna be biting on you.
No. How about, do you grow any beans?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
The question I had was sweet potatoes.
What's that?
Sweet potatoes. Do you grow any of those?
No, it's not warm enough. I've tried,
It's just too
and I've
cold
got
around
I
here.
got to plant up. They have actually going to just never get into the development because it's just too cool here.
Too cold for them. Okay.
But I've had calls from people, man, that just, we're talking like sweet potatoes huge, and just the weight was just amazing. It's phenomenal.
So we're just too cold.
It's just again, it's Washington. It's like you're not gonna grow avocados and citrus, but there's a lot of things we can grow, and so just enjoy what you can.
Regarding planting asparagus crowns, I was wondering if Paul simply made a hole and put the asparagus crowns in and then covered them with wood chips. Everywhere talks about mounding the crowns and then gradually over a protracted period of time adding additional layers of soil as the plant grows.
What I do, I plant the crowns right at ground level, and then I put a layer of wood chips over it. And then every few years, depending on the state of the wood chips, I'll add more. And that's all I've done. But I just plant right in the soil, right at ground level, and then just cover with wood chips.
And that stops you from having a mound because the wood chips will raise or...
Well, the wood chips, when you put down, are raised, they settle, but, again, they're actually covering. But what interested me, all my asparagus is planted in hard pan blue clay, which they say you can't do. Which they've been here for 30 some years now. They're growing just great.
If you feed asparagus to your chickens, can you taste it in their eggs?
No.
No.
I've never been able to taste anything in their eggs I've fed them. I've fed them fish. We had salmon. And I give them garlic and all that goes out there. But because they have such a mass of other things, it's not all they have. It's lost in the mix. I've never had anything in the egg I could say like, oh, that's onion or that's garlic.
Right.
I just never found it.
I don't know if you remember me, but I submitted a question about chickens for you last fall. My chickens wouldn't touch greens or vegetables, and I asked how I could get them to eat their veggies. I just wanted to give you an update that I find really interesting. Fast forward a few months. Over the winter, I grew my own kale, collard, spinach, beets, etc. And this spring, I have tons of greens left over from the winter garden. I threw some into my chickens, and they attacked it. They ate every bit of it. I swear they won't even look at store veggies. They just sit in their run and rot and blow away. But these organically grown vegetables get devoured. I find it extremely interesting that they must sense the pesticides and or herbicides and or chemical fertilizers on the grocery store vegetables. If the chickens won't eat them, my family certainly shouldn't be. Anyway, it was just a little update on somebody that I asked you a question about and you answered.
Yeah, and I think she still gets it. Everything in nature except us understands. And animals will not eat poisonous food. They know better. They know. They have a sense. They know, and they won't eat it. And it's sophisticated, educated, affluent Americans that go to the store and pay top dollar for dead, poisonous food, having no clue. I always tell people, if you want to know what's safe to eat, take your dog to the store. If your dog won't eat it, you shouldn't. Really. Because they know. My dog won't eat, Costco apples. She's mine. They won't eat organic carrots. She's fine. They know.
Can you prune tomato plants?
Yeah, tomatoes, you don't have to, but usually, especially in cool climates like us, you get too much foliage, too much new growth, and that takes away from the tomatoes you want to ripen. And so we have short growing seasons. It's important to prune just to make sure the bigger ones that start out ripen. Because if you just let them keep growing, they'll keep putting all these little bit tomatoes that never ripen, taking energy from the tomatoes you want to get ripe.
Now, just for me, tomatoes are once a year, right? I mean,
Yeah, they're
you
annual
don't.
plants.
Yeah. So they're talking about once it grows, and then you see a few tomatoes on there, and this branch doesn't have anything. Then maybe take that little vine off,
or
and
the
then
new growth coming on will have little tomatoes and blooms, but it's not going to be time for them to ripen. So prune that out, and so instead of taking all the energy to keep putting all this new growth and developing tomatoes, you put it into the ones that are going to ripen.
Okay.
So it's just transferring energy where you want it.
And you would take that off as soon as you saw it bloom.
Yeah, you'll again, is once you have your fruit set, and you start all the new growth coming on, you just prune out of there and just let the energy go into that.
What about dog poop? I have a lot of dog poop. How do I put it to good use?
I just throw mine out in the woods because I have woods local. They're accessible, so not putting it to good use. Just getting rid of it. I think if I didn't have that, I probably would bury it. Dig a hole and bury it, let it compost in the ground. I don't know how else.
So like bury it in with like the chicken compost and stuff, or
if you bury it in the chicken pen, the chicken would probably dig it out and eat it.
Yeah.
So I don't think unless you want to eat it, depends on what you're feeding the dog. I have no problem with what I feed my dog. My chickens can eat it because it's all good organic food. So, but again, for me, because I have woods local, it's just easy when I pick it up just to cast it out in the woods.
Okay. But you wouldn't put it like in the garden.
No, I wouldn't put human waste or dog waste. I don't care what people say. I just, in my own sense, I just don't feel that would be good for my health. It's just a problem with China Organic. They're using human feces for fertilizer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I just don't feel good about that. Especially now with drugs. Drugs don't break down. They never deteriorate. And so if anybody's taking drugs, that's in the feces. That's going in your garden. That's just not acceptable.
Do wood chips form the base of Paul's chicken run upon where the chickens do their composting work? Or is it just bare dirt, or shavings, or straw, or something else entirely? I get that the chickens take the scraps and the weeds and break them down, but I would think that some kind of carbon-based material would need to be underfoot and replenished periodically. More direct information on how exactly he turns his chicken run and coop into a composting factory would be much appreciated.
In the chicken coop, I use 4 to 5 inches of wood shavings on the floor, which the chickens are constantly, working up their manure into, and they make the most beautiful, homogenized, awesome stuff I take out every year and spread out in my garden. In their pen where they run, it's just on bare dirt, but I bring in such a huge volume of organic yard waste, grass clippings, weeds, everything in the kitchen, all my wood ash from the stove. So because it's such a massive material, there's never any mud, never gets any hard pan. And there's never any manure because it's so dispersed in this mass of organic yard waste.
In the pen, you don't put any other like wood chips or
I
anything,
just
but
use
in
wood
the
shavings. It's the stuff I get from that
in
guy
the
with
coop
horse.
itself, you put the wood shavings.
In the coop itself, just because if you don't, that wooden floor isn't going to stay wooden floor. It's going to be turned into concrete with compacted manure, and it's impossible to work with. So you have to have a covering on that floor.
Does Paul ever start seeds under cover in seed trays and then transplant them as seedlings? If so, what veggies does he do this to, or does he always sow seeds directly into the ground?
Because where I live, I have to do tomatoes and peppers inside. They will never make it if I plant in the ground. Otherwise, everything else I plant in the ground.
But if you lived in a warmer zone or something,
California, I'd be planting all in the ground.
It would all be seed into the ground.
Starts.
From memory, he always starts sowing on April 1st, already 1 month into spring. For me, in the southern hemisphere, This would be October 1st. Is this delay, instead of starting March or the 1st of March, due to the soil being cold from the winter in the area?
Yeah, one year I planted a month early, everything, and what amazed me, nothing came up for a month. What really got my attention is I planted bean seeds in April, and they stayed in my woodshed for the entire month and didn't rot, and came up the 1st of May.
Really?
And so I'm realizing that the Bible says there's a time and place for everything. There's seasons for a reason, and you're not going to change that. It's how it is. And so it's best to adjust to the seasons and plant accordingly, because you're not going to change it.
Has Paul ever used wicking beds? And what does he think of them? I plan on converting one of my beds into wicking beds soon. Do you know what a wicking bed is?
I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is either. Well, then I would say that you don't do it. My baby chicks came in the mail today. Do you have any information on how Paul feeds or houses his chickens for the first month?
I go to this. We have a good organic store here that they bring watermelons in these great big boxes, big cardboard boxes, and they make the most perfect house for little chickens. I cover the bottom with wood shavings. I have water and food for them, and I hang a light over the top so they have warmth, and that's where they stay for their first few months. And it's the most perfect little house for chickens. Big watermelon box.
You said you put water and feed in there. Do you know, or what kind of feed do you give them?
I'm using organic feed, and I get it from a place up here in Canada called In Season Farm. And I start with starter, which is just basically whole grain ground small, because they can't digest it when they're little. And then I give them one bag of starter. Then I go give them one bag of grower, and after that it's just whole grain. And that's it. I only use one bag. No more than one bag for each two, because they grow quick enough. And then after the second bag of grower, I just give them the regular whole grain, which is In Season Farm whole grain. It's three grains. It's wheat, barley, and oats, and they're good.
And how long do you keep them on that before you just stick them out and
Once I bring them outside, once they're big enough so they don't go through the gaps in the fence in the fencing or the door. Once they're at that age, they're on their own eating the yard waste, because they know how to live.
Does his chickens ever get sick? Also, does he have wood chips in the male chicken yard? MAIL chicken yard? Do you have wood chips in the chicken pen?
I don't bring any wood chips into the chicken pen. I use wood shavings in the house.
Right.
But in the pen where they are, I bring nothing but yard waste, wood ash. It's just stuff I want to get rid of.
And then, how often do your chickens get sick, or do they? Or
I have never had sick chickens. I don't know. They just, again, I don't get sick. It's just all about when you're eating live, healthy food, sickness doesn't happen. It just doesn't. And the whole idea of getting sick is unnatural. It's completely unnatural. And my dogs don't get. Nothing gets sick here. It doesn't happen because they're well. They eat well.
Let's say I move to a property, say Texas, Oklahoma, whatever, and there's fire ants all over the place. Is there a way to take care of them before I start my garden so they're not attacking everything, or?
The best way to take care of them is make yourself a chicken pen, chicken tractor. It means a cage with no floor, and just move them over the whole area where you have fire ants. They will take them all out. They are
really.
I had a guy who was in the Midwest had that happen, and he called me. He says, "I can't believe it, man. Those chickens have taken them all. They got them all."
And they just permanent solution, or
is
that like a permanent solution? Like
once
you do
they're
it once.
eliminated, if the chickens eat them all, there's nothing there. They're not reproducing. It's over. But chickens are, I actually, somebody go on the road, you see these big old piles of needles out there. I, with my wheelbarrow, used to go out there and load them up and bring them to my chickens, because it's like steak dinner. They totally eat them all. I love the larvae and the eggs they get in. They're kicking. They got, ants on them. They're picking it off. They love them. It's like they're made sure, like, this is awesome dinner, So they love eating it. ants.
I already wrote Paul a letter to tell him about my experiences with Back to Eden in the Netherlands, but now I have a problem. It's about the mole. The mole is so grateful to me that I covered my garden with wood chips. He or she has the time of her life, but I'm not so happy because he has been digging out my seeds and seedlings. In one of your videos with Paul, there was a mole trap in Paul's garden, and he also says that the cats will catch the moles. I don't have a cat in my garden, and I can't have one here. So could I place a trap? Oh, I could place a trap, but I don't like the idea of that. Was there a trap in the Garden of Eden? I don't think so. That's funny. My question is, how does Paul think that God thinks about moles? And has he had any other solution for keeping the moles out of the garden?
Because I was created with a mindset of order, I like things in order. Moles are a real irritant to my order. And because I feel order is a priority, and I have no problem with moles as long as they don't come into my space, but when they're in my space, I get rid of them. And I have no problem, my conscience is totally clear. Whether my cats do it, my trap does it, they just have no place in my garden because they do total disorder and damage. And I'm not willing to put up with it.